there was another attempt in the Senate yesterday, I guess it was, to reinstate extended unemployment benefits for the 1.7, maybe more, million Americans who are out of work and have lost their benefits between the expiring of benefits that took place in December, at the end of December, and over the past couple of weeks in January. The Democrats tried to push it again. They were filibustered. They were one vote shy of the 60-vote hurdle.
That's right. And they only got they got all the Democrats aboard, but they only got 4 Republicans. So that should tell. I don't know.
They got Kelly Ayotte, Susan Collins, Dean Heller, and Murkowski from Alaska.
That would be around what I would have guessed. Certainly Susan Collins, who has to pretend still that she's moderate so she can win re-election coming up in Maine.
I mean, and we should say this is the second time the Democrats have done this. They've come back with a pay for this time to offset the $6.4 billion that literally, the Pentagon takes a crap and it costs $6.4 billion.
Well beyond that.
Right. And so, it's unbelievable. The pay for involved pension smoothing, which, excuse me for 1 second. Pension smoothing, which basically says that corporations can underfund their pensions briefly for a period of time, bringing in more tax revenue because their profits will be higher. And also the real problem, of course, that we know with unemployment benefits is that millionaires would no longer be able to get unemployment benefits if they had made $1 million a year before. We know how many billions of dollars that must be costing us, but to make the Republicans feel better, that was the sweet partner or the pot sweetener. They still couldn't pass this. Now, I raise this not only because it is just outrageous on its face, but last night I heard, I don't know, some moron who apparently is from Central Massachusetts filling in for somebody, which I assume is somewhere around Worcester, filling in for somebody on WOR 710, just going on and on about the detrimental impact of 2.4 million people deciding to leave the workforce in 10 years because Obamacare will make it possible for them to get health insurance outside of an employer-based insurance system. That it will cause GDP to slow a little bit. True. At least that's what the CBO reports. The idea that there would be this sort of hand-wringing over the notion that people would have the freedom to leave the workforce versus the idea that there are 1.7 million people trying to get into the workforce or get a job, but they will do nothing to help them. And we know there is studies have shown that when you give people unemployment insurance, it makes it easier for them to get work because they're able to focus on getting work rather than going around and borrowing money from everybody or sleeping on couches.
Right.
It's
so
just,
actually, they're able to get suits and things to show up and look nice at interviews.
Pay for a car to go to an interview. I mean, whatever it is.
Which part of their lying crap would you like me to take on first?
All of it. I mean, it's just enraging.
Well, they're just. I mean, it's just astonishing that they get away with saying the things they get away with. And again, media, people that won't just point out the other lies. Let's start with unemployment insurance. This is at this point, it's just pure cruelty. The Huffington Post has been doing a series where people are writing blogs that used to be middle to upper middle class, and talking about their circumstances, who've now ended up who've been looking for a job for a year, 2 years, and now are living in trailers or their car or whatever. I mean, that's the truth of it, right? Is that are there a certain percent of people maybe that just sit around and collect unemployment insurance? Probably. They're very small. And most people who are collecting it are collecting it to live, to eat, to get by, to be able to go and look for jobs. And again, the one thing that we don't constantly hit the Republicans on is that giving people that unemployment insurance money they will spend is good for the economy. Raising the minimum wage is good for the economy. Giving people the food stamps so they have the food they need to eat means they will get food. It is good for the economy. Again, these are all things that have the benefit of they're not only the moral thing to do, you so-called Christians, but they're the thing to do if you want to help an ailing economy, which clearly the Republicans have no interest in doing. So that's the first thing. The second thing, this whole thing about Obamacare and the CBO, I mean, what a load of crap. You know, that these people are such just, they don't know the truth if it came, you know, if it smacked them in their faces, which I wish it would. The 2.3 million so-called lost jobs, you know, I guess for a movement that's based in Southern right-wing ideology, forcing people into slavery is something they're well familiar with from their ancestors. So I guess I can see why they're comfortable with that. You know, having people be able to leave the job, the workforce because they have the financial wherewithal to do so, and they just needed health care. To be able to do that in their 60s or late 50s is not a bad thing. For people that have the financial wherewithal to be able to spend more time with their families and now can get health care or actually start a job, be an entrepreneur. This is the thing that drove me nuts when Obama and people on the left didn't make this argument over during the whole Obamacare fight, is that the system the right wants in place, you know, they always love entrepreneurs and the people who create jobs. They impede that more than anything else by forcing you to stay in a job when you'd like to go somewhere and start your own business because of health care. I know I went through that when I started my own business, and it scared the crap out of me that we might not be able to get health care. I did it because I believed enough in myself, and unlike probably a lot of people, I was lucky enough that I had a nest egg that I could. But I mean, I know lots of people that can't do that. So the truth is that if the people we're talking about, you know, are leave the economy or let's say leave those jobs, we have how many people do we have looking for jobs?
Right.
As you just pointed out, that will go and
well,
get those
the CBO
jobs
predicts
and
that
spend
we'll be
money.
down to. I don't know exactly what they predicted the unemployment rate will be down to at that point, but be well below 6, I guess, or 5. And you know, the other
It
impact,
also puts
the other
pressure on
impact,
wages, so wages go up. By
that's
the way.
exactly right. Wages go up, and you know, a far greater impact in terms of people in the workforce is going to be the aging. But nevertheless. Okay, our GDP is down, but we have people who have more freedom to stay at home with the kids if they want to, or to retire earlier, or to cut back on hours, you know, as they get older. Whatever it is, it's just stunning. But you know, they know this. I mean, this is what I found so just unbelievable about listening to this radio guy. I don't know what his name was, Andy Raisin or something. I don't know what it was, but I mean, Paul Ryan asked the head of the CBO.
Noted intellectual Paul Ryan?
Yeah, but he asked the head of the CBO, and the head of the CBO made it absolutely clear to him. And then there was the one part about this story that was also sort of stunning to me. And I mentioned this on the program the other day, but it bears repeating. Is this story from Politico? I think I still have it in here. Maybe I don't. But basically, there was a Politico story that said, you know, this is going to be really tough for Democrats. The idea that they're going to have to defend the loss of 2 million jobs, 2.5 million jobs, and then a paragraph later and says, but if you actually read it carefully, it's not a loss of 2 million jobs. It's a loss of 2 million workers who decided to leave their jobs. But nevertheless, that's still going to sound, that's still going to work for Republicans. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. It drives me.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Crazy.
Like that's why debating them and arguing with them is this point. I mean, their only existence is as a fundamentally intellectually dishonest group of people, and that's a nice way of putting it. So I mean, it's like there are real debates to be had over how much government should spend on certain programs and a variety of things, but they won't have those real debates. And I mean, as you pointed out, what the Pentagon craps out. I mean, when you see the waste, when you see the missing hundreds of billions of dollars, you know, and things that just disappear in Iraq, poof, it's gone. And they don't care about that. They don't have research. And I mean, that we're arguing over a couple $1 billion is just ridiculous. And that's why I won't take any of their arguments seriously, because as long as any of them will sit there and watch the waste that's going on and the wars we've been involved in and at the Pentagon and the rest, then I don't take them seriously when they say that they're fiscally responsible. So I couldn't give a crap what they say.
What were we spending in Iraq on any given month, or Afghanistan? I mean, what was it, $4 billion a month in Iraq? Maybe more than that. I don't know.
I think so. I remember it was enough where they, enough where.
There's just something.
I mean, a couple months gives you universal health care. It's just, I mean, the things that we waste money on that they don't seem to care about at all. Weapon systems we're never going to use. Again, you look at this farm bill, the farm subsidies that keep going to Monsanto, to wealthy, agribusiness, the subsidies that keep going to oil. I mean, until they're willing to take those things on, then I don't take them seriously. Because, I don't think government should spend more than it takes, and if it doesn't have to, there are times of emergency and many others where certainly it's necessary. But, I think you should be fiscally responsible. But when I've got people here yelling about cutting things like Social Security and food stamps and these other programs that save you a few billion here, a few billion there, whatever, the cuts they're talking about, when they're willing to waste hundreds of billions and, in fact, trillions on war making, then they're just not to be taken seriously. So I don't really care what they say.
If the Republicans were really concerned about fiscal responsibility, they would be they would be in Trenton, New Jersey right now with a huge Darrell Issa holding hearings on a daily basis to find out where the $60 billion in Sandy Relief Fund went to, because apparently it didn't reach most of the people that needed it.